I was sold on the idea of what the American dream was, and we were not living the American dream.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of The Real Estate Path. I'm your host, Jim Lee. This show is about the real estate investor's journey because success isn't built on fancy suits or luck. It is built on failed offers, blown budgets, and the guts to keep going when everyone else taps out. This show is for everyone, including seasoned pros, beginning investors, because we're going to deep dive into the wins, the loss, and the lessons behind each deal. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Jeff Ma. Thank you for being on the show, Jeff.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, Jeff, tell us a little bit about how you got into real estate.
I'm like your average Joe. I actually knew nothing about real estate. I grew up in the family restaurant business. All I knew was how to make egg rolls, cook food, wash dishes. I knew nothing about real estate. And '08 happened during the Great Recession, and me and my family were hit hard. We lost our family home, and the only thing that we had was the restaurant. And that opened my eyes to like, holy shit, life is not what I expected to be. Now, I wasn't in real estate at this point, right? But it took us a long time to be able to afford another property. And if you're like me, you probably read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. And that was the very first book that shifted my perspective about money. Funny thing, Rich Dad Poor Dad is actually not a real estate book. He talks about real estate, but it's actually not about real estate. But when he talked about how your home is a liability, it doesn't make you money. So it's not an actual asset. It's not an actual investment. I was just like, huh, that makes sense because me and my family lost our home. We didn't make any money from it. Our credit was destroyed. We were on the brink of being homeless again. And here we are having to rebuild everything. So I took a real estate course. I was like everybody else. I went to college. I thought get good grades, get a good job, hopefully get a good paying job. And I took a real estate course and it's like, oh, the wealthy put their money in real estate. So I was like, okay, that was the seed of me wanting to get into real estate. And then what happened was someone invited me to go to a 3-day event. I don't know if you guys remember, there was a guy named Fan Merrill called Fortune Builders, and you go to this 3-day event and my mind was blown. I had learned so much. They talked about wholesaling just a little bit, but they mainly focused on fixing and flipping, make your money at fixing and flipping, and then go buy and hold. I'm like, cool, great. I'm in. I'm sold. But I didn't have the money. I didn't have the money to join. My family, we just lost our house. I'm a kid in college still. Even though I was 20 or 21 at the time, let's be honest, 2021, you still don't know shit. There's still a lot of things you're still figuring out. Hell, you're still trying to figure out who you are as a person at 20 and 21. And I was like, man, I barely had the $100 to pay for the ticket to just go to the 3-day event. This is how much I didn't know. I didn't even know that the 3-day event was a 3-day presentation to sell you on their high ticket offer. And their high ticket offer, which I wanted in, but I just didn't have the money, was the inner circle for $50,000. They're like, ask your parents for money. I'm like, excuse me, my parents are broke as fuck. We barely have anything to our name. We don't own anything at the moment. We're leasing cars. The only thing that we have is our restaurant business because that was the only thing making some money. So I thought my dreams, real estate, gone. It was over. 4 years went by. 2016, my friend asked me, do you want to get your real estate license? And then all of a sudden, that spark, that memory of like, yeah, I want to make real money. I want to build a future. I want to build a legacy. You want to get your real estate license. And like to me, at the time, no one was really talking about real estate on YouTube. YouTube was meant for those videos that you watch, End of the World, Who My Aha guy that sings. No one was being educational on YouTube. So at that time, I said, yes, I'll go get my real estate license. It happened to be a Groupon crash course. Again, this is how broke I am. I had to ask my mom to borrow her credit card so I can pay $368 for a Groupon crash course so I can go get my real estate license. At the time, I told myself, this is my way in. And that was my way in because I had no other idea or other way of getting into real estate within my mind. And so that's what I did. Took the course, 90 hours, took the test, passed on the first time. I'm like, here we go. I got my license. I had a friend that was a managing broker. He was doing really well in the business. I'm like, can I join your brokerage? Cool. And I quickly learned they don't teach you shit. I have my real estate license. I know how many feet in a square mile, right? Which is 4 old ladies doing 85 and a 35. So 48,535,000 square feet. That's what they tell you to remember. That's what if you need to take a test. First 2 years in real estate business, I didn't make a single dollar. I went on showings. I went on open houses. I didn't know the business. I thought just like the restaurant business, right? You go in, you make an order, you pay your food and you leave and you make some money. That's what I thought business was like. Because my parents, even though we have owned this restaurant, we've actually owned it for 35 years now, understand that that business had owned us for the majority of our lives. We didn't own it. We weren't growing it. We were enslaved by our own business because we weren't actually building systems. We weren't building how to grow the business. We just had something that we owned and worked in all the time. Again, I thought it was transactional. I thought if I just go show the house, they like it, they sign a contract, I make a commission. No one taught me how to build relationships. No one taught me the importance of follow-up. Because in a restaurant business, what am I following up for? You come in, you're hungry? Come on in. I got some fried rice.
So let me ask you this to unpack a little bit of all the stories you've been telling is the idea that you lost your home in 2000 because of the subprime mortgage crash.
Yes,
And
the
then,
recession.
yeah.
Exactly what happened. My dad took out a second mortgage
Uh-huh.
and he defaulted.
Yeah.
And then the house that my parents had been paying for 20 years worth of equity, gone, except for the second mortgage.
That must be devastating either way. Oh yeah. My question to you is that why is it that you still decide to pursue real estate relentlessly, even after having had such a bad experience watching your dad lose his house like that?
I made a decision that no matter what, I was going to be the one that changed everything because I saw how hard my parents were working. I saw my older brothers also struggle. They never went to college. They just went out and got jobs. We were surviving our entire lives. You know, like, yes, we own a Chinese restaurant, but you guys probably know Chinese restaurants, we never close. Try opening 7 days a week, 365 days a year for 30 plus years, and your family never gets a day off. Growing up, that was my childhood. I never went on vacations. All the kids would go on vacation, spring break, summer break. I was in the back of the kitchen washing dishes, helping the family, doing what I can to help the family. And growing up, I'm just like, when do you get to live? When do you get to have fun? I grew up in America. Come on. We like to have fun, right? Like, but I was sold on the idea of what the American dream was, and we were not living the American dream. Seeing my parents work 7 days a week, 0 days off, like even when you're sick, take some cold medicine, get as much rest as you can before you go open and suck it up. And I was just like, this is not how I want to live. So I told myself I was going to change it. And to me, real estate was that path.
Awesome. I love that. I really resonate with that story, by the way, because I come from a similar background. I look at how hard my parents worked as an immigrant coming over here to the United States, and I feel like there's got to be a better way than just work 7 days a week nonstop.
Oh, yeah.
And just there's a much more efficient way of doing things. Like what we're doing right now, being part of a mastermind, Pace Morby's mastermind, where we always promote collaboration over competition. I think what happens in the Asian culture is that growing up in Taiwan, my parents always thought that they had to do everything alone. And so they kind of taught me that don't depend on anybody else. And that kind of made me think that debt is slavery and cash is freedom because that's how I was raised.
Same.
So I bought my first condo all cash, not knowing I can use debt as leverage. And then I picked up, like you said, the Purple Bible, Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I was like, there's good debt and bad debt? Really, guys? Oh my God. That was when I decided, okay, I'm doing this all wrong. I gotta go out. I gotta expand my horizon. I gotta go figure out what I don't know, my blind spots.
Oh, yeah. Especially with the Asian culture, especially with minorities that come to this country and they grew up a different time, a different era where it was really tough to trust anyone outside of your family. Hell, it was tough. It was tough to trust your family.
Sometimes it's even worse, right? I don't know if you heard stories where actually family ends up screwing you more than strangers.
Exactly. But it's just like they grew up in a time where it was super tough. It was all survival. And for them, that's been their whole life. So that's what they thought that was the only way to make it, right? And if you did make it at the high level, you got luck. Not that it was smart. A little luck helped for sure. Hard work, definitely, but it depends what you work hard on.
Yeah, so good. So good. I love that.
Yes.
So going back to your story, because you didn't develop the skill set for real estate, it didn't translate. What happened next? How are we able to acquire all these skill set now?
Through grit, through failure, and just never giving up. It took me 2 years to get my first deal. My first deal was my mom. Her foreclosure finally finally fell off. And we bought the house that we are in today. It was income that we made from the restaurant. That was my very first deal. In doing that first deal, I realized, man, there's still so much more I didn't even know. I didn't even know how to write a contract. You're going to be scared. Someone that's supposed to be a professional real estate person that's fresh out of getting their license, I guarantee you they don't know how to write up a contract. Isn't that scary? The contract that's supposed to lock you in, that's supposed to be legally binding. Like, I had to ask my team lead at the time, like, hey, where do I fill it out? He's like, read the contract. I'm like, I'm reading it. And I like, there's some things I still don't understand for myself too. I'm just like, escrow, where does the what is escrow? I kind of get it. I know it doesn't go, I know it can go down to the down payment, but where does it go? Who's holding it? Who's in charge of it?
I was the same way too when I was a realtor. When I looked at that contract, I was just like, what am I reading?
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I wholesale now and our contract is a 2-page contract. It to be a 2-page contract. When I got my real estate license, that was a 15-page contract. Most of it's actually not important, but 15 pages of like, and you didn't get a law degree. You don't know, but we're actually allowed to fill that out as real estate agents. So it's just like, yeah, having someone that can mentor you. And that was the tough part, because like, you quickly learn when you get your broker's license or agent license, right? Depending on which state you are, you quickly learn all they really want you to do is just sell houses for them. They don't teach you actually about real estate. They teach you how to market and sell. And that's even if they teach you. A lot of brokerages might have great resources, but that don't guide you. But then there's smaller brokerages that might guide you, but that don't have great resources. And it's just something you learn as you go through it. But it's just like, again, I already made that decision. I'm never giving up. I'm going to figure it out. That's it. Finally get my first deal after 2 years. I'm like, cool, I finally get it. I made the mistake of buying Zillow leads, but I did have some success there.
Zillow Flex?
Zillow leads.
Oh, leads.
Zillow leads. So as a broker, you can kind of buy a zip code, right? And you could be like the majority person that gets the leads out of that zip code. You know, the restaurant was doing pretty good again. I was taking money that I was making at the restaurant to go buy Zillow leads. And Zillow leads aren't cheap either. I was getting leads in the hood of Chicago for like $100 each. Like, it's not cheap. It's not. And then these people would call me. No, I wasn't interested in buying. I was hoping to rent. I just paid $100 for that. Seriously? But so if you're an agent, don't buy Zillow leads. Please, just don't. But I had some success there, and I closed one deal, closed a second deal, closed a third deal. I'm like, cool, I'm getting the hang of this, right? It's 2019. I'm like, cool, I feel comfortable as an agent. I'm doing open houses to find new buyers. I don't think I had a listing at that time. And then 2020 happened. And I'm like, holy shit, here we go again. Again, my family owns Chinese restaurants in Chicago. So the COVID mandate, we had to shut everything down, right? We can only do takeout. Fortunately, one of the restaurant takeout businesses was great. We had a second restaurant where we didn't do takeout. We did a BYOB karaoke, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But that means the majority of our business was in-house, dining in, and that restaurant decided to take. We waited a year. And we were like, we need to open our doors. There was parts of the city of Chicago where they were like, just open the doors. And we got caught opening our doors. And then I got hit with a $50,000 fine. And eventually they revoked my restaurant license in the city of Chicago. And I'm still like a newbie agent. Like, even though I have had my license at this point for 4 years now, I've only maybe did about 5 transactions total. And I wasn't confident enough to go all in into real estate. I was still having one foot in the restaurant, one foot in real estate, because at that time, I wasn't making enough to support my family. I was making just enough to finally catch up on paying off my bills. And things got tough. I was driving DoorDash. I was driving Uber Eats. I was doing showings and open houses. And then I would go to the restaurant to work in the kitchen.
The restaurant license was revoked. So do you guys stay out?
Mom's restaurant. Mom's restaurant did the takeout.
Oh yeah, the other. Okay, you're
Yeah, the other restaurant. So yeah, let me bring it back. Okay. So it'd be a dad's restaurant, mom's restaurant. Dad's restaurant that I opened with my dad together, hit with $50,000 fines, and then they revoked my license. That shut down. Mom's restaurant, come to learn, my mom didn't know that you need things in writing. The landlord had 2 owners, 2 brothers. We had a good relationship with one of the brothers that promised my mom concessions. They promised my mom concessions for the pandemic. That brother got pushed out, and all of a sudden now we have a letter from their attorney saying that we owe $40,000 in back rent and back taxes or get evicted. Woo! On super stressful time. And here I am with only like 5 deals under my belt as an agent. And that's when I was driving DoorDash, Uber Eats. I was doing DoorDash and Uber Eats because I didn't want anybody in my car, because it was during that time of COVID where like, this could be very real, right? No one really knew what was going on. Doing that, working in the restaurant, and then trying to do showings and open houses whenever I could, all with the mask and everything. 2021 was a really, really rough year. 2020 was just like a waiting game of like, hopefully we open. 2021 is when all that waiting and none of that business finally hit. And it felt like we were about to lose everything again. The house, the restaurant, it was '08, but worse. I'm like, and again, I told myself, what the fuck? This can't be happening again. I made the decision to never quit. Why is this happening again? And during that time, I again made another decision that like, I'm fuck having fun. Like it was pure survival. Like when I say fuck having fun, I really mean like I didn't care about what other people did. I didn't care about the vacations. I didn't care about like even at the time, my own personal mental health. It was back again to just pure primal survival. And I remember working 96 days straight, 12-hour plus days. I had counted that. And it's like, and again, when I was working at my mom's restaurant, I didn't take any money. It was to help her survive so the family survived. I was surviving off of DoorDash to cover my credit card bills, which were maxed out. I was barely paying off the minimum. Finally landed, I think I had one real estate transaction that helped give me some breathing room. I think it was like maybe $3,000 or $4,000. Pay off some of my credit card, but I'm just like, something has to change. I didn't get my license so I can do open houses. I didn't get my license so I can be a broker. I got my license because I didn't know how else to get into real estate. And then I'm on Facebook and I see this ad pop up. It happens to be Jamil when he was doing the Blue Genie ads. I don't know if you remember. If you saw these, you'd be like, this is the dumbest ad ever. Like you would never think. But he talked about wholesaling. Get this, after 5 years of being in real estate as an agent, I didn't know what wholesaling was. I actually forgot what wholesaling was, even though I went to that Than Merrill 3-day real estate event because they barely talked about it at that time. No one was really talking about wholesaling. And I was like, oh, learn how to find these deals that are distressed and then sell to investors for a premium. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm already doing that. I took my credit card, maxed it out again, bought this course, and I learned everything. But for 6 months, I still didn't close the deal wholesaling. I'm just like, well, and then finally, I had what I thought was the perfect deal. It was actually a family friend that inherited this property, but she didn't know what to do with it. Her mom started doing construction work, a little Filipino lady, like this tall. Her mom unfortunately passed away. And the mom that did the work in the house, all of it unpermitted. The electrical, wow. She tried to do her own framing. 5'4" little Filipino lady, tough as nails, doing construction work on her house. And what happened to be in a great neighborhood in Chicago. So she needed to sell. There was a number that she needed. And I'm like, cool, I have a seller that wants to sell. Yeah. Let me figure out something. And at the time, I still didn't know how to find a buyer. I wasn't confident finding a buyer. And luckily, one of the lenders that I work with that does regular home loans, his mom wholesaled real estate. His mom had a buyer for me. And lo and behold, we wholesaled the deal and I didn't even know I did a creative deal. We seller financed it so the seller can get the number that she wanted and then the buyer can get into the deal with less money down. And I made $5,000 on my first deal off market. Wholesaling. Go! Woo! I was like, this is real. This was the foot in the door that I was looking for. My real estate license, oh my God, didn't really do me anything, right? But wholesaling gave me that new perspective of like, there's so many different ways to do business in real estate. For 5 years, I thought I was very traditional minded. Like, oh, you have to list it. You have to sell it on the market. You have to get a broker. It has to be a licensed broker that sells it for you. No, a huge portion of the market sells deals off market. And it doesn't even have to be with traditional financing. It could be seller financing. It could be sub 2. It could be a line of credit. Like hell, right? You can collateralize anything as long as it's on paper. The way Jamil talked about wholesaling is just like, oh, wow, there's other ways to do this. And being in Chicago, like the south sides of Chicago, west sides of Chicago, these are underserved neighborhoods. Agents don't want a listing in the hood that's only going to sell for like 25, 35, maybe 50K. What are you going to make on that? You can maybe make $1,000. You'll make more money doing rentals in Chicago than listing that. So a lot of those neighborhoods are underserved. And here I am thinking like, wow, you can get one of these deals, sell it for 5K plus creatively.
Yeah. That brings back to why I joined Owners Club. Yeah, because I actually come from a multifamily syndication background. A lot of my friends always ask me, Jim, what are you doing with Pace Mortgage Club? Like, aren't you supposed to be joining syndication mastermind? I'm like, yeah, that does make sense, but I want to learn about the creative side. I want to be able to serve more people, help more people creatively, because not everyone is able to qualify for a bank loan, right? And so I just feel like being in this space space teaches me so much, gives me so much.
So much.
Yeah.
Like this community promotes collaboration.
Yeah.
When you're in brokerages, they don't promote collaboration.
Yeah. And that's one thing I noticed too.
Yeah. Well, it's like, yeah, we have a fiduciary duty to our clients, but it's just like if they want to sell and the buyer is willing to buy, like why can't the agents collaborate to get a deal going?
Yeah.
Right? It's just like, no. This is like I can't share, like there's certain information you can't share. Totally get it. But like if it wasn't for wholesaling, it would have never opened the door to my first 6-figure deal. I thought like, oh, I would just get a referral fee because at agents you can get a referral fee for a listing. And what happened was like, no, it's like this was my client in Chicago that was looking for a warehouse to lease out in California. The agent out in California agreed to do 50-50. He would do the legwork, but it was my client. Lo and behold, that was a $5 million contract that we got paid 2.5% on. I was like, whoa. And the funny thing is that only took one phone call and I made 6 figures. I made $120,000. One phone call. I was like, why not? Why can't it always be like this? And the craziest part, 2 years later, that same client bought that warehouse for $41 million. Even though I acted as a regular broker, it was because of wholesaling, Jamil and Pace that promoted collaboration, working with people. Like that opened my mind to like, I can do deals anywhere. I don't have to be licensed in that state. I can go find an agent, bring them a client or value, and we can collaborate and do a deal. Instead of like, I was of the mindset like, oh, you just give it to them and then just get a referral fee, get like 20%.
So why do you think that is? Why is it that most people live in scarcity mindset instead of abundance?
It's because it's what we're taught. It's not only just what we're taught, but scarcity mindset is a survival mechanism. We're taught how to find the problem to protect ourselves, or we're taught how to find the path of least resistance instead of a path of growth, a path of abundance. So it's just like we're taught to believe that like we have to be scarce, mostly just like our parents, right? It's how they grew up. So they thought that's how life is. But it's no, life can be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah. I love that. Quick question though. Earlier you mentioned a couple times where you hit rock bottom several times, 2008, 2020, and then you had to max out your credit card, take out loans, this and that. What was that experience like being Asian, coming from being raised in an Asian family household, being very conservative with your money, and now you have to risk it all like that and put yourself in such a heavy debt? Because I've been through that before, and it doesn't. It's like it makes my stomach tight.
That was one of the hardest things I had to overcome. Of just like, one, it felt like I'm disobeying my parents. It feels like it's like I'm not bringing honor to the family.
I said the same sentiment for sure.
It taught me taking that risk. It did two things. One, it changed my relationship with money. I didn't let money control me. I didn't let money control my decisions. Even if there was no money or a lack of money, I didn't let that no longer control me. It still does. It always will, but like the hold that it had on me, like it does our parents, I was finally able to at least open one of those locks.
How were you able to do that?
Like I said, I felt like I dishonored my parents, so I made a decision without them.
There was like some kind of mindset coach or any books or that kind of help you figure that, oh, I can.
When you go to all these conventions, these 3-day events, masterminds, you learn you got to take the risk. So I said it did two things for me, right? It changed my relationship with money. But the more important thing that it did is I created more belief in myself. It forced me to believe in my ability to figure it out no matter what. And that is invaluable. That is what's priceless. That is what cannot be bought. That can only be experienced. Well, in a way, you are buying it. But it's such a weird feeling. It's such a weird release when it's just like, I'll figure it out. I don't have the money, but I'll figure it out. And I'm going into massive debt, but I'll figure it out. And again, you make that decision that you're never going to quit. You're always going to keep moving forward. You're going to figure it out. And that allows you to take more risks. That allows you to take bigger risks for bigger rewards.
Love that. Love that response. We're going to shift geared a little bit.
Yeah.
So outside of real estate investing, what do you do for fun?
I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay.
Yes. So I've been training for 15 plus years. I do have my black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I competed at Worlds last year. I lost to the number 3 guy on points. Really tough match. I learned a lot. I learned I actually have to be more patient. So this year, going back again to compete at Worlds. So that's what I like to do with fun. I like to wrestle other men.
You seem such a down-to-earth type of person. I can never see you to be super impatient about it. Like, yeah, I'd be surprised. I gotta check out some of the videos. You must be like super good if you're competing in the World Series.
Yeah, competition's a lot different when it comes to competing, but I've always competed my whole life. So I did taekwondo for 18 years all through all my like childhood. So I've always competed at a high level. So I've junior Olympic bronze medalist, multiple state championship gold medalist, Korean American national champion in taekwondo. I've gone to fight in Korea representing the US before.
How come you don't ever just go professional? Like, sort of.
I later learned that my legs are a little too short. I always thought I was going to go to the Olympics. The funny thing what happened was money problems happened. I wasn't able to keep training like the way that I did after I graduated high school, which was '07. I graduated high school in 2007. The '08 crash happened, and any dreams of being an Olympian went out the door because it went all to surviving.
Looking back, did you have FOMO? Now, before I say that, I want to give you some context because, again, I don't know what it is about your story. I resonate with everything you say, maybe because we're just Asian brothers. But to be honest with you, I grew up being a nerd. I play video games all day at home, and I was really good at it. Just like you, I was in the world top, at least top 100.
Wow.
Yeah. And basically, I put in 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's how addicted I was to video games. And so when I was young, I wanted to pursue being a professional gamer. But then, Asian parents are like,
You can't make money playing video games. Yeah.
And
Now there's multi-millionaires playing
exactly.
games. It blows my mind.
It is. And look at it, like that could have been me. Instead, I had to go to school. So yeah. Do you ever have that FOMO?
A little bit, but not anymore. I realize the path that I'm on is the path that I need to be on. What's the saying is that sometimes God doesn't give you what you want because God gives you what you need. Even though I had those dreams of being an Olympian, I needed to do something else for the family. Who knows? Maybe my baby boy will be the next Olympian.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know. Give him the shot.
I can totally see that. He's gonna grow up to do the things that you
Yeah.
didn't get to do. I actually have seen that story happen many times. Yeah, it's weird how sometimes that
Weird, right? I'm happy for my journey because it was things that I learned, the things that I had to grow up in. Like I used to have the fun belt, but now, no. Now I have a beautiful family. I have a beautiful family and different dreams to pursue.
Yeah. Is there anything else we haven't touched upon that you'd like to talk about?
Man, no, thank you so much for being a great host. That's my story in a nutshell. Like, man, I wish I could tell you all the things growing up, like doing martial arts, but that's maybe for another day.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have another episode with you. I thoroughly enjoy interviewing you. Yeah. So appreciate you being on the show. How can people find out more about you?
You guys find me on Instagram, Jeff Ma Real Estate, JEFFMA Real Estate. You'll see this mug. You won't see the beard. This is something new. This is a new addition that I've been working on. But yeah, you can find me on there.
Awesome. Well, that concludes another episode of The Real Estate Path. If you guys got a lot of value from Jeff Ma, today's guest, hit that like, subscribe button so that you'll never miss another episode of the show. Also, share this with a friend who's also chasing dream because you never know what type of impact this episode can have for the people who are trying to get into real estate investing. And most importantly, take action. Take what you learned from this episode and apply it, take action to solve the problems. Now go out there, make some offers, and build the life you've always dreamed of. See you next time on the next episode. Thank you for tuning in. Peace.